Good morning, guys. How are we all doing? I am Dan from Trading with Dan. This is our Bitcoin morning update. So if you guys wouldn't mind smashing that like button, we shall go straight over to those Bitcoin 4-hour charts. So Bitcoin on the 4-hour, as you can see, we are currently flirting with this area of resistance. It's kind of a bit of a zone, really. I know we've got this line drawn in here, but you can see this whole area is pretty much the top of obviously this previous price action that we've got here and here and here. Obviously this wick literally did come up to the absolute underside of the actual full-on resistance zone we've got, which then corresponds with this price action here. So that is the target. That is breaking above there is the target. As you can see, we are easing off a little bit. This is a pretty aggressive move, so maybe we consolidate sideways for a bit here. Maybe we do get a bit of a wick down into potentially into the 42 even $41,000 area, into this area to back test this as new support, so old resistance turning into new support, or maybe we just catapult our way on upwards. But either way, we've had a pretty aggressive move, so if we are just to trade sideways a bit for a bit longer here, maybe test some downside, that isn't particularly bad. Obviously the only point that it starts to look like a bit of a failure, a bit of a bull trap, will be obviously if we start closing below 41,000 and then back into this area or lower. So that is what we're looking at with Bitcoin. All sorts of fun things going on in traditional markets. You can see the S&P actually looking pretty bullish here, looking like it is forming an ascending triangle. I mean, it clearly is forming an ascending triangle with this very important level of resistance, obviously as the base of that triangle to the upside. So yeah, looking to break above there, get us back into this next area, and then things will start to look pretty good if assuming we get it back into here, and then especially above 4,500 as well. We'll just extend this along. But yeah, this is obviously looking good. We did look at the other day, we were down here flirting again, you can use that word again, with this lower area of support, but nice to see us supported and back up here testing this upper level where we've got obviously a chance of breaking through. This is where things start to look pretty bad though. Well, I say pretty bad, not ideal. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, you talk about Fed rate raises, Fed raising rates. I had problems with that yesterday, didn't I? With the Fed raising rates, we talk about that and the impact it has obviously on people's ability, just basically on people's finances, and then obviously also the financial system as a whole. This is literally a direct increase in everyone's cost of living, like literally from filling your tank to just everything else that obviously energy prices filter through, heating your house obviously. This is bad. This is bad. This is literally this is going to cause a recession if this carries on quicker than the Fed is going to cause a recession by its very slight incremental rate rising. I don't know what it is. Raising rates. Maybe we should call it the incremental Fed raising rates, basically, or the Fed raising rates incrementally. That's it. You never would have thought English was my first language, would you? But here we go. This is looking, just looking awful for the consumer. Obviously, banks, financial institutions, oil companies, whatever, they may benefit from this. But obviously, the consumer, there is only downside for the consumer, and therefore, obviously, the economy wrecked. I mean, in the US, the consumer is one of the obviously mainstays of the economy. They're not like they're an energy producing country or anything. They basically rely a lot on their consumers, on their population to spend, especially on services, and this is going to seriously inhibit their ability to spend. It's not good. It's not good in any way, shape or form. And then it puts the Fed in that ironic situation where this is going to make people struggle. Therefore, they're going to have to be less hawkish, which Jerome Powell basically was more dovish yesterday, i.e. less hawkish. we are almost certainly only getting a 25 basis point raise on the 16th, if even that, if this carries on, let alone and obviously not the 50 basis point that was I think it was about 60% or 60% plus chance of having on December the 16th, but obviously not anymore. But yeah, the irony of that is obviously this is obviously inflationary, which is when the Fed should be raising rates even more. So the Fed sees something inflationary and then it's like, well, now we're going to raise rates even less. Just this system, the logic, it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. What do we do? What do we do? So no doubt, obviously, we see obviously the strength in gold because we're just going to end up in a more inflationary environment. I mean, it's hard to see how this plays out. The only way this plays out in a way that brings down inflation and brings things relatively back into line is a recession, or probably would end up being a depression. I mean, it's such a dire scenario looking forward with the amount of debt, the level of inflation, energy prices, just the economy as a whole, just the deglobalization, the political risk, supply chains, the ECG crowd, the social unrest with obviously the woke and the just dichotomy with things literally are a mess. Without wanting to put a downer on things, I mean, at some point there will at some point in the future, at some point at some time, not necessarily this year, maybe it'll be next year, maybe the year after, there will be an absolute catastrophic crash of this system. And yeah, it almost seems like the things that are going on and have been going on the past couple of years, you guys know what I mean, are almost like, let's just accelerate this, let's get it out, let's get it done now. And then usher in a new world order. That's what it seems like, because just things I just can't see how Finance 1.0 survives this, like in like I say long term, but just in the short to medium term. I mean, it's just getting ridiculous. This is literally ridiculous. Just back to oil again. This is literally ridiculous, like fully ridiculous. Like this is like severe alarm bells ringing. So yes, DXY, as you can see, at these highs, strengthening up as well. Obviously again, with what's going on in the world, is a fear trade, is a flight to safety trade. This this initially easing off, but obviously rallying a bit. I mean, it's battling now between obviously the fear trade, the risk off, and the weaker looking economy, and then obviously the inflation. I mean, it's basically battling between those two drivers. What else do we want to look at? Yeah, the ruble back down there, hanging around these lows. Like I said though, the ruble, the currency realistically of Russia is energy. So I mean, they can start saying, well, you want to buy our energy, we're out of the Swiss system, you can't use dollars, buy it in rubles. You got to buy rubles to basically buy our energy, or just something like that they could do. They got options basically, and that would obviously support the ruble, and that would then turn the ruble into obviously a fully like commodity sort of currency, where you're having to buy it to then buy the commodity that basically, let's face it, everyone needs, even if they can get a bit of a discount. Yeah, I just don't know. This is going to cause problems. This is potentially the black swan. I mean, the black swan, this is, I mean, obviously you can't predict black swans and they come out of nowhere, but I think, for me, the black swan is that this quickly gets to $200. I think that would be the inverted black swan. That would, say in inverted commas, black swan. Obviously, the fact that I'm saying it then indicates it can't be a black swan, but I mean, if it does happen, I don't think a lot of people see it happen pretty quick, and we end at $200 and like then the world's screwed. That could be the black swan. Absolutely tanks the market, tanks economies, tanks everything, tanks Finance 1.0, tanks the debt, tanks the bond market. Yeah. Just what a joyous video we have this morning. But literally, honestly, people that are like struggling already with food prices, the already elevated energy prices, the fact obviously the general inflation, the fact the wage inflation, the wages aren't going up, the fact they're struggling obviously with whatever repercussions of the past 2 years as well, to then get hit by this, I can't stress how detrimental that is. But right, let's look at stochastics. Let's just look at some TA. 4 hour coming down, so obviously we've got that bit of downward pressure going on here. I guess 10 and 12 hour going to be turning back down now, just with this little bit of a pause in the uptrend. Yeah, 10 hour turning down from a high level here. 12 hour actually still pointing up, but obviously getting a bit toppy. Daily still looking good though. 2-day obviously had turned back up. 3-day had turned back up as well. 5-day is obviously doing a brilliant job of obviously getting us thus far. So gonna approach the bullish zone, and then yeah, maybe this gets going and gets us towards that mid $50,000 level. Weekly up and turning up as well, and then obviously bi-weekly potentially gonna turn up at some point, and monthly obviously just there. But yeah, in very interesting times. We will see how Bitcoin performs in what will also be a highly inflationary environment, which I think will perform well for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin performs well in inflationary environments. And also in a loss of confidence in central banks, Bitcoin may perform well. A loss of confidence in the finance 1.0 and other fiat currencies, Bitcoin might perform well. And then obviously just the draconian measures that governments are taking may also do well for Bitcoin. So we could see that detachment from obviously we're just a risk on asset, literally high beta Nascoin, and see us start to drive on other things. Maybe that is another thing that will be crazy. Maybe we see oil at $200 and Bitcoin at $200,000. Stranger things certainly will have happened. If you've been watching Bitcoin long enough, you've seen it go from literally like $1,400 to $20,000 in an extremely short space of time. To see Bitcoin go from here to $200,000, I'm not saying that this is not a prediction. I'm just saying things like that just could come out of left field. And I'm more pointing to the fact that oil could certainly end up at about $200 a barrel, and just the world is screwed, and then all sorts of dynamics come into play. So yeah, there is your cheery video for the day, guys. Remember, this is not a financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Always do your own research, and I shall speak to you guys soon.